A random cafe stop reunited a family, broken by tragedy. You won't believe how welcome to the channel where every story touches the heart. If this moment moved you, we'd love to know. Drop a comment and tell us where you're watching from. It's always amazing to see our little storytelling family growing across the world. And don't forget to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications, because tomorrow's story is one you won't want to miss. A twist of fate, a hidden truth, and a reunion that will leave you speechless. Thank you for being here. This journey is just beginning. The sky was painted in soft grays as Michael steered the SUV along the winding roads of Oregon's scenic coastline. He had been driving for over 3 hours, with nothing but the sound of the engine and the occasional whisper of music on the radio. In the back seat sat his 10-year-old daughter Emma, quiet, thoughtful, gazing out the window as pine trees and cliffs passed by like memories. It had been a long journey, not just in miles but in emotions. Since the accident 2 years ago, their road trips felt different. Emma used to sing along to every song. Now she sat in silence. Michael, once an energetic storyteller behind the wheel, found himself speaking less. There was a space in the car that no amount of luggage could fill. A space once occupied by Rachel, Emma's mother and Michael's wife. Her absence was a constant presence. The gas tank had dipped below a quarter and Michael's stomach grumbled. He spotted a small roadside cafe with a worn wooden sign swinging gently in the wind. "Let's stop for a bit," he said softly. Emma nodded without a word. The parking lot was nearly empty, the gravel crunching under the tires as Michael pulled in. The cafe looked old, but inviting, a cozy kind of place where time moved slower. The air outside was crisp. A wind chime danced above the door as they walked in, announcing their arrival with a delicate jingle. Inside, the scent of fresh bread wrapped around them like a blanket. The furniture was simple, mostly oak, with mismatched chairs and hand-sewn curtains that framed the windows. A couple sat in the corner sipping coffee, and behind the counter someone moved quietly, half hidden behind a wall of pastries. Michael chose a table near the window. Emma sat across from him, arms on the table, still unusually quiet. He smiled at her and handed over a menu. "Pick anything you want," he said. "You've been so patient today." Emma looked at the menu, then suddenly paused. Her eyes widened ever so slightly. She leaned forward, her voice barely above a whisper. "Dad, that waitress looks like Mom." Michael blinked. "What?" he asked, his tone careful, not dismissive, but uncertain. Emma didn't say it again. She just looked past him. Slowly, Michael turned his head. There she was, walking toward them with a notepad in hand, wearing a faded green apron and a hesitant smile. Her steps were calm, but her eyes, there was something familiar in them. Michael's heart skipped a beat. A strange, weightless feeling overtook him. He hadn't even spoken to her yet, but somehow deep inside something was waking up, something long buried. He didn't know it yet, but that single quiet moment, the stop at a random cafe, the whisper from his daughter, was about to change everything. Michael's breath caught in his throat. The woman walking toward their table looked so familiar it hurt. Her smile was gentle but uncertain, like someone greeting a stranger who feels oddly familiar. She held her notepad loosely, her steps slow and careful. Emma wasn't blinking. She kept her eyes locked on the woman, lips slightly parted, as if she was trying to solve a puzzle too big for her 10-year-old heart. Michael turned back to Emma, trying to ground himself. "Emma," he whispered, his voice shaking. "Are you sure?" She nodded. "I think it's her, Dad. I really do." The woman stopped a few feet away from their table. "Hi there," she said, her voice soft, melodic. "Welcome in. Can I get you something to drink while you decide?" Her voice hit him like a wave. He had heard that voice read bedtime stories, laugh in the kitchen, cry quietly behind closed doors. It was Rachel's voice. His chair scraped loudly against the wooden floor as he stood up, almost involuntarily. Rachel? The name fell from his lips before he could stop it. The waitress froze. The notepad slipped from her hand and hit the floor. She stared at him, her face suddenly pale, her breathing shallow. I'm sorry, she stammered, her eyes darting between him and Emma. What did you say? Michael couldn't look away. His heart was pounding so loud it drowned out everything else. It's me, he said. It's Michael, and this is Emma. Don't you remember? The woman stepped back, as if the air had turned too heavy to breathe. No, she whispered, but her eyes betrayed her. Something flickered in them, recognition, fear, confusion, a memory trying to break through. Emma slowly got up from her seat, eyes still full of quiet wonder. She didn't rush toward the woman. She just stood beside her dad, her voice barely audible. You look just like her. You feel like her. The cafe had gone quiet. Even the couple in the corner had stopped talking. The woman, Rachel, or whoever she was, put a hand to her chest, as if steadying a heart that had started racing. I don't know you, she said again, but this time it sounded like a question, not a statement. Michael's voice cracked. We buried you. 2 years ago, after the accident, we thought you were gone. A tear slid down the woman's cheek. I was in an accident, she said quietly. That much I know. They told me I had no ID, no memory. I've been here ever since, just working, trying to feel whole. Emma took a small step forward. Mom, and for a second, just a second, the woman gasped like she'd heard the name for the first time and the 1,000th all at once. Michael didn't know what would come next, but deep in his gut he knew one thing. This wasn't just a coincidence, this was fate, knocking louder than ever. The world around them seemed to pause. For a long second, no one moved, no one breathed. Then Rachel, or the woman who looked exactly like her, swayed slightly on her feet. Michael instinctively reached out, steadying her by the arm. She didn't pull away. Her eyes stayed locked on Emma's, eyes that mirrored her own. I've had dreams, the woman whispered. Flashes, a little girl's laughter, a man calling my name. I thought they were just dreams. Emma stepped closer, trembling now. They're not dreams, she said softly. They're memories. Rachel's knees buckled slightly, and Michael caught her before she fell. Come sit, he urged, guiding her to the booth where moments ago they had just been a tired father and daughter grabbing a bite to eat. Sat slowly, almost afraid of what she might remember next. I don't even know my real name, she admitted. They told me I was found unconscious by a truck driver on a highway outside Phoenix. I had no ID. Nothing but a pair of torn jeans and a wedding ring. Michael's breath caught. You still have the ring? She nodded, eyes watering. I never took it off. I didn't know why. Michael reached into his jacket pocket, heart pounding. He pulled out his own ring, slightly scuffed, still worn every day since the funeral he now realized may never have been necessary. He placed it gently on the table. Rachel gasped. I've seen that ring. In my mind. Over and over. In someone's hand. Your hand. Michael blinked away tears. You're not crazy. You're not imagining things. You're Rachel Monroe. You're my wife. And you're Emma's mother. Rachel stared at him, then turned slowly to the little girl now standing just a foot away. Emma was crying now, not loudly, just silent tears down her cheeks. I always kept your picture, she said, under my pillow. I thought, maybe you could see it from heaven. Rachel looked shattered. I wasn't in heaven, she whispered. I was lost. There was a silence so deep it felt holy. Then, Rachel reached out a trembling hand. Emma took it without hesitation, wrapping both her small hands around her mother's fingers. And in that moment, something broke open. A flood of memory, pain, and recognition poured through Rachel's expression. She pressed her forehead to Emma's and began to sob, the kind of sob that comes from years of absence, confusion, and finally, homecoming. Michael stood frozen, watching the two most important people in his life reunite right in front of him, at a roadside cafe on a random Tuesday in the middle of nowhere. He pulled his chair close, placed one hand on Rachel's shoulder and the other on Emma's back. No one needed to speak. Sometimes the most powerful moments are the ones wrapped in silence and love. They sat at the corner booth of the cafe now, no longer strangers, but still uncertain of what came next. Rachel sipped from a cup of tea, her hands still trembling slightly. Michael sat across from her, holding Emma close, as if afraid she might disappear again. Outside, the wind had died down. Inside, time felt suspended. "I want to tell you everything I remember," Rachel said quietly. "But it's not much, just flashes." Michael nodded. "Start anywhere. We're here. We'll listen." She took a shaky breath. "After the crash, I remember rain. Lots of it. I remember the sound of glass shattering, then water rushing. It must have hit my head. Everything after that goes black. They said I was found nearly 200 miles away, walking barefoot down a back road near a small town in Idaho. No ID, no phone. Just bruises and a hospital bracelet with no name." She glanced down, eyes full of regret. "I couldn't remember who I was, not even my own name. I kept having dreams, of a little girl laughing, of someone holding my hand, of pancakes on a Sunday morning. But I didn't know if those were memories or fantasies." Emma smiled through teary eyes. "That was me and Dad. We made pancakes every Sunday." Rachel blinked rapidly, wiping her eyes with a napkin. "They diagnosed me with retrograde amnesia. The trauma, the shock, the isolation, it just wiped everything clean. The shelter gave me a new name, Amy Walker. That's who I've been for the past 2 years. I got a job here. Saved up, tried to rebuild." Michael leaned forward. "You never had a clue? No missing persons report reached you?" "They tried," she said. "I saw posters here and there, but I never thought they were me. My face looked different. I dyed my hair, lost weight, and honestly," she paused, voice cracking, "part of me was scared to find out who I used to be. What if I didn't like her?" Michael reached across the table, gently taking her hand. "You were kind. You were strong. And you were loved. That's who you were. That's who you are." Rachel broke down again, her grip tightening around his hand. "I don't know how to come back from this, Michael. I've been someone else for so long." "You don't have to figure it all out today," he said gently. "Just come home, one step at a time. We've already lost you once. We're not letting it happen again." Emma slid a small bracelet across the table, the kind she used to make in art class. "I made this last year. I kept it in my backpack, just in case I ever saw you again." Rachel picked it up, her fingers tracing the beads. It read, "Mom." The weight of the word hit her like lightning. She stood up, circled the table, and wrapped both arms around her daughter. "I'm sorry I forgot," she whispered, "but I will never forget again." And in that moment, the past and present stopped fighting. They finally began to heal. The sun had begun to dip behind the trees as they stepped outside the cafe, the sky turning gold and amber. Michael carried their leftover muffins in a paper bag, but his mind wasn't on food. He kept glancing at Rachel, his Rachel, walking beside him like a ghost reborn. Emma clutched her mother's hand tightly, afraid this miracle might vanish if she let go. They reached the car and stood in silence, none of them quite ready to leave. Rachel looked at the familiar vehicle, the same SUV from the accident now, with a new bumper and a child's drawing taped to the window. "I know I should feel more certain," she said, her voice soft, "but everything's still fuzzy, like I'm living someone else's life." Michael opened the passenger door for her. "Then let's take it slow. We don't have to rush. You don't have to remember everything to be part of this." She nodded, then knelt down and looked into Emma's eyes. "I may not remember every moment we had," she said, holding Emma's hands. "But I know this, my heart never forgot you. That's why I never took off that ring. That's why I never stopped dreaming about a little girl." Emma smiled. "And I never stopped talking to you at night, even when Dad thought it was silly." Michael chuckled, holding back tears. They got in the car. Rachel hesitated for just a moment, then settled into the seat that had always been hers. As the engine started, so did something else, something deeper, a return, a reconnection, not just of memory, but of meaning. As they drove down the coast again, Rachel looked out at the endless stretch of water. Her voice was distant but steady. "You think it was an accident that brought us here today? Of all the towns, all the cafes?" Michael shook his head. "No. I think fate had been trying to bring you back all along. It just waited until you were ready to hear your name again." Rachel turned to him. "You called me Rachel before I even said a word. You were sure?" "I never stopped being sure," he said. "Some part of me always knew you weren't gone, that I hadn't really said goodbye." They pulled into a quiet motel for the night. No fancy hotel, just a safe, simple space where healing could begin. That evening, Emma fell asleep between them, breathing softly. Rachel stared at her daughter's sleeping face for what felt like hours, memorizing every detail. "I missed everything," she whispered. Michael reached across the bed, found her hand. "No," he said gently. "You're right on time." Outside, the stars began to appear, one by one, like tiny reminders that even after the darkest nights, light always finds a way back. And so did she, the woman they thought they had lost, the mother Emma kept hoping to see again, the wife Michael still loved after all this time. Rachel was home. What would you do if someone you thought was gone forever suddenly stood right in front of you, alive? This story is more than just a twist of fate. It's about love that never gave up, a child's unshakable hope, and a moment that changed everything. Now, we want to hear from you. Have you ever experienced something that felt like destiny stepped in? A reunion, a second chance, or a sign that made you believe in miracles? Tell us in the comments where you're watching from and what part of this story touched your heart the most. Was it Emma's innocent whisper, Michael's unwavering belief, or Rachel's emotional return? We read every single comment, and your stories matter just as much as the ones we share here. This channel is about more than storytelling. It's about connection, healing, and remembering that we're never truly alone in what we feel. So go ahead, leave a comment, share your thoughts, and be part of this growing community of hearts and hope. And if you haven't yet, don't forget to subscribe. Tomorrow's story might just change the way you see the world.